Well, hi everyone. Welcome to today's session at 3:30. This session is a welcome from on-site, online to hybrid, the impact of COVID-19 on the art of observation. I'm Catherine Knipp, and I'm also one of the co-chairs of the MCN Data Insights SIG group, and I'm here to actually welcome you and introduce you to our session here today. For those everybody probably already knows, MCN is a nonprofit volunteer-run professional organization. We're committed to growing the digital capacity of museum professionals. MCN has developed a deep, active community engagement in year-round conversations, webinars, and resource sharing. So, and as an MCN member, you can join special interest groups, participate in our mentorship program, and shape MCN's future leadership roles, such as SIG chairs, conference chairs, and with time with the MCN board. So if you're not a member of MCN, we hope that you're going to join us. There's more information at mcn.edu. I also like to thank our sponsors, Microsoft, Registration Assistance Fund Support, Axial, Ignite sponsor, and all our other sponsors that are listed on the program schedule for helping this wonderful conference possible today. And so today our session is actually a live Q&A session from the previously recorded presentation. We're in the format of a Zoom meeting today. So we ask that if you like to ask a question, you can pose it in the chat. You can also raise your hands using one of the reactions. I'll say the reactions, or put it in the chat, and then I can call upon you as well. And then you can unmute yourself. I do ask that if you're not speaking, to please keep yourself mute so that we're able to hear other speakers as well. So let's get started and have a good time for the next half hour. Today our presenters is Heather Parker, the Associate Curator in Academic Outreach at the Agnes Etherington Art Centre at Queen's University. We also have Danuta Sierhuis, our Digital Development Coordinator, also for the Agnes Etherington Art Centre at Queen's. And so I'm going to hand it over to these two lovely speakers to start off our session.
Thanks so much, Catherine. Hello to everyone. It's nice to see all of these faces and people joining us for the Q&A. And we're really excited to have a chance to chat about what we've been doing and ideas that you have and any questions or contributions you have. Just to give you a little recap of what the program is about, the Art of Observation is now a 4-session program for medical students at Queen's University. They come to the art gallery, they see the art. We talk about visual analysis skills, and primarily, this is the primary driver for the creation of the program, was to teach them visual analysis skills for diagnostics. And from that, we created a bigger program that had 4 sessions and included things like empathy training, cultural sensitivity training, thinking about other perspectives, listening, all sorts of skills that they're building over the sessions. It includes 2 art analysis sessions and 2 art making sessions. And it really has been a program that is centered on an in-person experience, an in-gallery experience. And this is always crucial to the way that we designed it and the way that we taught the program. And so as we delivered the pilot program that was part of this overarching research study the School of Medicine was working on, we delivered our first 3 sessions and it went wonderfully. And then the 4th session got postponed due to COVID closures. And we ended up teaching that on Zoom, almost identical to how we would have taught it in person, just because it was an emergency teaching situation. But then as we look towards what was going to be fall 2020, but which is now winter 2021, and offering the 2nd session of it, we want to have a more robust online teaching experience, more cutting edge, more innovative pedagogy. And so we've been working on this and developing a hybrid approach where we can have an online module that could exist in a place like an exhibition template and could be accessed. So it's a website that people would access. And then that could be followed up either by a Zoom call if we have to move back to totally online, or by an in-gallery tutorial that would be shorter, lower capacity, physically distant in our spaces, which have very low capacity these days. Yeah. And so I guess with that summary, I would love to hear from other people who have questions. Maybe you've been working on similar projects or different projects with online components like that, feedback, comments, anything, any kind of contributions that you have.
And likewise about the digital platform, because that's still very much in development. I wish it was ready, but it's not quite yet.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm just following the tack here.
We do have one question from Ruth. This is, can you give some examples of imparting empathy to medical students via art?
So empathy is a very difficult thing to measure. And that's one of the challenges that we've been having with our research study, is how to measure empathy and growth in empathy. And so we have different ways of tackling that, but the teaching comes down to showing people narratives that maybe aren't their own, this idea of alternate viewpoints, letting people see art and come up with their own assumptions at first, and then questioning those assumptions and asking them about where they originate and where they're going. And then sometimes providing more context later on in the teaching process. And often people will learn that their understanding or their reading of a situation is not the same as other people's. And so I think that that can help to the students to think about where people come from, also teaching about different cultural contexts. So we've been very careful to include Indigenous artworks, art from our African historical collection, and other global artworks in the teaching, so that the medical students can start to get an understanding of different artistic contexts, and then take that and apply that to their clinical practice as well. One of the other things that I could talk to is about, as we've been trying to incorporate more Indigenous artworks online, we've been doing, Danuta's been participating in some consultations with Indigenous community groups, and various consultants recommending using these online works in different ways. And so one of the things we have been starting to do this year is consulting with a committee on using works from our permanent collection, historical works, to get approval to use them in every instance, not just a one-off approval, but ensuring that every instance we can use these cultural ancestors from our collection to teach with and to teach alongside. A lot of the feedback we've been getting is that we should rotate through different woven items to allow the objects or ancestors to rest, and working with different ancestors in the collection, cultural ancestors, to make sure that we're using them in appropriate ways and that we're including community viewpoints while we do them. Danuta, did you want to speak a bit more to that?
So as part of our digital strategy, we also, and kind of in consultation in parallel to the sessions that Heather mentioned, we spoke with several members of the Indigenous communities that are local. So we're located in Kingston, Ontario, and we're on the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat peoples. So we invited local elders to talk to us about how to present Indigenous ancestors online. And some of that included a lot of thought around storytelling and how the object is made and things like that. So kind of getting a better understanding of Indigenous culture through those kinds of digital technologies like 3D imaging, photogrammetry, things like that. But we do have a question in the chat that I'm seeing about how to recreate online imparting empathy to medical students in art, and how do you make that online experience at least as meaningful as the in-person one. And if I could just kind of jump on that one a little bit further, I think there's digital experiences and then there's in real life experiences, and I think they're kind of different ways of experiencing art. The in real life offers particular things, and then a digital experience offers particular things. And part of, I think, one of the things we're hoping to do with our online experience is really prompt people through open inquiry-based questions and close-looking tools like IIIF, Zooms, and annotations, and multimedia, those to still kind of inculcate those questions. But I think Heather will also be joining those with Zoom calls. So if you wanted to kind of talk about that, like how you're going to teach those things.
Yeah, so the way we're going to design it is having this exhibition template that will modify for teaching purposes. Sorry, for teaching purposes, and then either pairing that with a Zoom call or an in-person gallery experience. And so in that experience, you can teach, you can have that wonderful, like awe-inspiring, seeing art for the first time connection that you often get with students who haven't been in our gallery setting before. And then online, as Danuta said, you do lose some things with online delivery, but you gain other things. And so you don't have that connection, but I think you can still show them different things, and you can teach them about nuance, that you can teach them about things in the background that they might not have noticed at first. And so I think having them, again, go through a process of discovery, using artwork that is both medically themed and not medically themed. And so they have some things they can connect with in thematic ways and things that they have to reach more for, and trying to have that variety. And it seems to help them to make different connections at different points in time.
We do have another question from Catherine in the chat. And for the purpose of the recording and accessibility, I repeat the question. Can you speak further about the online tools you're exploring for fostering observation or closer looking?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So we are building our own WordPress-based templates for online exhibitions. And we are including modules that will allow us to do closer looking, like through mostly IIIF capabilities. So using big high-res images and being able to look very closely at them. And as Heather mentioned, to notice things in the background. We've also explored the possibility of, a while ago, there was a tool being floated around through Kojap, their slow looking tool, which uses a IIIF manifest and takes you like inch by inch across a canvas, which can take about 15 or 20 minutes. So it's a really slow experience. However, that's a third-party tool, and we don't really know how to configure that with our setup at the moment. But I think like using we also have a series of modules that ask or like prompt introspection through artworks. So we have what we're calling a pause quote or prompt module which we can put images on the background of, and then a text question or prompt for deeper thinking. I wish I could show you guys this, but they're still in development, so hopefully like in the next month or so. Yeah, I hope that kind of answered the question.
Sounds exciting, actually. I'd be looking forward to seeing that as well in the next month or so. So maybe we can all circle back on that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. There's a question from Allison Little, and she said she can ask it on the mic, so maybe I'll hand it over to her if she wants to unmute. Allison.
Thanks, Catherine. Hey, Heather and Danuta. Actually sort of neighbors who are over at the Archives of Ontario. So hi from Toronto. I just had a question regarding this. What feedback have you gotten from the students about their experience so far, and using the interactive experience on the via the web and going through the program, the modules, and also have you been able to kind of capture their experience and document it in any way? And if so, or if not, is there a plan or any kind of potential process to document and represent students' experiences of this new version of the art observation, or the different cohorts that will be going through this new version of the art of observation, and how would that be represented? Is that something you're thinking about?
That's a great question. Thanks, Allison. Yes, we have been documenting everything. Because the pilot project was part of this research study on education and delivery of programming in the School of Medicine, it's been, we've had a huge number of surveys. I think we ran 9 surveys in the winter. So like pre and post tests for the whole session, for the whole program, and then pre and post tests for each lesson, so that we could measure student learning in art observation, as well as empathy, looking at medical images, as well as diagnostics, looking at things like x-rays. So every student did a lot of paperwork for us. And out of that, there was also a survey about satisfaction and things they learned, and how they'd want to modify it in the future. And so from that initial survey, we got feedback that the 4th session was not as valuable, it was not as effective, not being in person. And we expected that kind of feedback. It's hard, it's quite jarring to switch modes of delivery partway through a session. And even though we had that feedback, when we talked to the educational researchers at the School of Medicine planning ahead, they said that because that happened in March, they actually expect that students have now acclimated to using Zoom, and they're happy to use Zoom. And so that there's been a huge, really a seismic shift in their expectations for the delivery of sessions. And so they expect students to respond a lot better to the new, this year's program. And we will be doing this kind of survey for the following year as well. And once we have the data analyzed, we will probably be publishing an article about the project as well. And so it's a couple of us on the Agnes team who are working on this, and then also 6 people who are in the School of Medicine and 1 art historian who are working together to make this move forward. And so they have tons of ideas and lots of things like measuring clinical skills and surgical skills and other things over many years. And so looking at students at the end of their program and seeing how much they've learned. And it's been a really fantastic group to work with because of the ideas about measuring success and program evaluation.
Yeah, and I'm sure for the online experience too, that will get folded into Heather's evaluation as well, which I hope I get to see some of how they experience the actual platform, so I can make it better moving forwards as well. And I'm sure like once the sessions are done every year, we'll be able to kind of iterate to expand on content in the way that the lessons are delivered online, should they continue that way too.
And we have another question in the chat from Ruth. how do you think the program you have developed might apply to students in other disciplines? What changes would be needed?
So we host students from all different disciplines at Agnes. I think we've had students from every faculty on campus, education, law, business. As we did do a one-off multi-session program for the School of Business. We have found that every program needs to be customized for the audience that we have. The faculty we're working with all have really particular ideas of what they're interested in. We have run this program in other versions. We have a one-session version we run for first-year nurses, as well as graduates in rehabilitation therapy. And so we do offer art of observation to other people in health sciences in different versions, and we will continue to do that. But we also develop other programs like concentrating on more business or legal things. I have found, though, that anecdotally, people in many disciplines are interested in learning these skills. And so, although it might not be compulsory for a class, people would opt in. And we have curricular visits from other disciplines to our exhibitions, just not for this program in particular.
Yeah, and I'll just add to Heather's answer. The online platform that we're also building, we are also intending to have it be used through practicum placements with students. So it is also a site of academic outreach beyond this project as well. In fact, one of our first projects that we will be launching once this template is done is a student curated project on hand fans from our collection of Canadian dress. So we'll be looking to see how that will expand with students in art history and other students at Queen's.
Fatima has a question. Where did the original inspiration for the program come from? This is a great question. And what were they hoping or expecting would happen?
So the original inspiration came from other projects that have happened for a number of years in the States. The idea of the academic gallery is much more robust in the United States than in Canada. In Canada, we're the largest gallery, an academic gallery, with the largest collection, largest staff, largest mandate. And part of that is because a lot of the other universities and the universities that are our size are bigger are in major cities that already have provincial or national galleries. And so because the Agnes is in a smaller city that doesn't have any other gallery, Agnes is the gallery for Kingston, and it gets a lot of support from the academic side and the public side as well. So we've been very lucky in that way. And so one of the things that we have been wanting to do for years is to look at what people are doing in projects in American universities and to bring that into Canada. And it took a while to build those partnerships on campus and to find the right team who was willing to invest in it and the right approach to start this project. But as soon as we found this, one of our partners in the School of Medicine, everything just started flying and all these new ideas and fantastic learning opportunities. And she's keeps coming back with more ideas. So recently we hosted surgical residents to do a sculpture training class in person in the gallery, and they'll be measuring their hands-on surgical skills before and after, as well as wellness and other things. And we got great feedback from that. So as soon as you find the right partners and you get the right start, and then all of a sudden things just blossom from there. So we've been really excited about it, and it's been something that's been growing gradually for maybe a decade or so. But this is the big launch of the bigger program, and we hope to make it grow in the future as well and have similar projects with other faculties as well.
That's great, Heather. I was actually, one of my own questions was going to ask was, what does the future of this program look like to you and what you hope to achieve? So I think you've answered that. Just a quick note that we do have we have 4 minutes left, so we have a couple more minutes for some questions.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Lauren.
Hi, from Ottawa. Hello. I work at Ingenium in digital, but my background is actually like medical illustration. So I find this topic super fascinating. And I love how you've kind of merged these two fields together. And I was just curious, you know, with this new approach to balancing in-person visits versus online, how are you approaching that all with the actual art making, since, you know, that is such an in-person thing, but, you know, with all the other kind of virtual things you're seeing online around the world in terms of like paint nights and things like that, like, is there a way that you're trying to augment that for online as well, or is that solely in person?
So that will be online as well, and we hope to offer a version in person and a version online as this moves forward. But as you probably know, being in Ottawa and close to Kingston, things are shifting, and we're not sure if we're going to stay open over the next few months. And so we're trying to be agile with that as well. So we have been offering public programs with art making online on Zoom since we shut down in March and then reopened as well. We have been shipping art material to people who register and then offering the sessions on Zoom. We've been offering some sessions where people use materials they have at hand, so pencil and paper, for instance. And we've been doing this both for adult-focused art classes, kids' art camps, and Art Hive, which is a sort of mental health art therapy program that we offer to university students, but other people as well, to do art from their home. And so normally that would be in our studio, but now it's on Zoom as well. So we've gotten more experience in doing that, and we have some art educators who are quite happy to teach that way, and some people who are in the current context more comfortable teaching online instead of in person. So yeah, I think it will go quite well, but there are always hurdles and sort of things you have to prepare for ahead of time and ship out and make sure that you've got everything planned.
That's great. Thank you really much. I am really excited to actually connect with you if you're interested in that after, to talk more about this program, because it's super interesting, and maybe there's something, you know, if you're looking to expand.
We would both love to connect with anyone who has any questions or any comments or just wants to get in touch.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Lauren.
I will second that.
That's actually a perfect closing, because we're just about out of time. I think probably about 30 seconds left. So just wanted to thank everyone for joining us. And, you know, I know everyone's probably using the MCN Slack channel, so they definitely can continue the conversation there. I'll let Heather and Danuta maybe have a closing remark if they have any to add.
Thanks so much, Catherine. It was great to talk to people and get a sense of what other people were working on, or the context that they had been presenting these kinds of programs in Zoom. And as I said, reach out to me and let me know if you have any further questions or comments, or want to see things once they've launched, which will be in a few months.
Yeah, and thanks again for everybody, and check back on the digital aspect of it in January or February.
Thank you, everyone.